killing brush. I've got him at gunpoint.
They're pulling them out.
10-1-1. Advisory for campus.
God!
Welcome to another episode of War Stories. I'm Tom,
and I'm Chuck.
And it's been what an interesting couple of weeks it's been in this country. I'll tell you what. If it's not one thing, it's another.
We've got the whole nuclear war with Putin and then the issue in Ukraine. We've got what is it? A jailer or detention officer breaking out a suspect and going on a love spree. You know, good old Vicky.
And now she's dead.
He died.
Yeah, she died.
Car wreck.
But he's alive, of course.
He's alive.
Crazy.
Jesus
and then
Christ,
you've got all the protesters going to Supreme Court justices' homes, and it's been crazy.
Oh, but they're like, hey, you can't protest and riot out here now. That's not cool anymore.
Right. Of course. Anyway. But I think it's time for this week for us to just have a good old fashioned war story. And so to that end, we've got Anthony. How are you, Anthony?
Oh, pretty good, sir. Yourself?
Oh, not too bad. But call me Tom. My dad is Sir.
I got you. I grew up as a Navy brat, so some of that stuff, that sir and ma'am, is just kind of natural now.
It's ingrained in me too, but I like to make sure that if somebody calls me Sir, the old school way to say it is no, I give you permission to call me familiar. But I also get a little testy when people who I haven't given permission to call me familiar do that. So, it's like they start off with the Sir and then it's like, nah, don't worry about it. That's too formal, or Mr. So-and-so. I hate it when kids don't call me Mr. Gandhi and they just use my first name. And I'm like, who raised you? So anyway,
definitely understand that.
My personality. But you contacted us about a story you had, and you are in law enforcement in the Midwest, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct? Is it?
Yes, sir.
Do you want to say what kind of agency?
I work for a sheriff's office.
A sheriff's office.
I work for a sheriff's office. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I didn't know how much of that we wanted to give.
Gotcha. What's funny is that he was actually on a question answer portion of our podcast not too long ago.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
When we were answering questions.
We do have a question. We do actually have a question for this week. Do we not, Chuck? So maybe we can get Anthony's opinions on this question. We'll do this question from Facebook, and then we'll get into Anthony's background and story.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want me to go ahead and read it? I got it out.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and read that question?
So Leland sent it in and he goes, hey guys, love the podcast, need some advice. So in January, I went through the police academy. I failed in February by not passing the test. My first score was a 56, then my second was a 68. It looks like he double tapped. But one of the instructors offered me a job doing security for the police department. I said, yeah. I put my application in, got hired. So I'm going back to college for my associate's degree in criminal justice. Then I might go back for the academy or go federal. Do you guys think that is a good idea to do so? And do you guys know of anyone who failed the police academy and went back to retry?
I do not know anybody who failed the police academy necessarily in the sense that they weren't putting themselves through, but I do know people that had to remediate. They got rolled where they had problems going through the academy the first time, and they were hired by an agency, and the agency said, okay, we're going to pull you out of this class and put you in the next class.
Right. I've not seen that. I've actually seen the opposite, where I've actually had people who have or seen people who have double tapped and then came back later and passed. Yeah. And they're good officers. They just needed a little bit more remediation or a little bit more knowledge, a little bit more growth. I also have seen that on the other hand, where a guy fought for his job, got it back because he complained of unbiased or biased treatment. And that dude is a shitbag to this day. I don't know why, but he passed and he shouldn't be on the job, to be honest. However, I have seen it to where guys have double tapped a test or whatever it may have been, personal life. They just didn't pass that one test. They didn't pass it the second time and came back, and they're good cops.
Yeah. And so there's no reason why you shouldn't try again if this is what you really want to do. And sometimes it takes a little more studying, and you don't realize, like, you think you got it, and then you just needed to do a little more studying, do a little more preparation, and then you can get through. But if this is something you really want to do, it's not an easy job. So if you think that you shouldn't try again, or there's even a question in your mind about whether you should try again, then don't. No, but if you really want to do this, there should be no question that you will try again, because there is no failing. There's just trying until you succeed.
Absolutely. And I think it's a good idea that you took the job for working security for the agency, because you get to know the agency a little bit better, and you get to know, hey, is this the agency I want to work with? 2, going to college, getting an associate's degree in criminal justice or even a bachelor's degree is a good idea. And it's going to allow you to grow a little bit more. It's going to allow you to study a little bit more. It's going to allow you to understand things a little bit more, understand law, report writing, things like that, which will help you in the academy. I don't know what you failed on. I did ask you your age. You said you were 23. So that could play a role a little bit. The older you get, the more knowledge you get, the easier things become.
More life experience, right?
Exactly, especially in an academy setting. So I would say go to school, start working for the agency for a couple years, get your feet wet a little bit, come back, retry. If it's still something you really want to do, and if you want to go federal, and you're like, I really like this job, I really like working for this agency, I really want to go feds, go get that bachelor's degree and go right on into testing for
until you're
US
35,
Marshals, FBI, yep. Exactly, all that stuff, and you're still young.
Yeah. So I don't know, Anthony, have you ever known of anybody who had to remediate or go back to the academy a second time?
I've known a few people that had to. The way it is where I'm from, you get 2 opportunities at each test. Like, we take tests throughout our academy, and then we take our final. I've known a few people that had to retake their final. I do know of one person who was in a buddy of mine's academy a few years before I went, and they were kicked out of the academy for reasons. And then they actually ended up getting hired on with another agency and went through my academy, and actually did a decent job of trying to be a leader in our academy, since they'd already gone through it and kind of knew what,
they already made their mistakes.
Like. Exactly. And as far as I know, I'm not real close with them. They're from a completely different part of the area, but just kind of keeping track on Facebook with a few of my academy mates. It looks like they're doing pretty good now. So they made their mistake that one time. It cost them. But from everything that I've seen, they've turned their life around. They've turned things around, and they're doing really good now.
Yeah. So I hope that answers your question. But the answer, if you really want to do it, you should just do it. Now, consequently, I've seen people fail the psych and then beef the psych and get hired and be terrible.
Yeah, but there's nothing wrong with learning from your mistakes, correcting it, because I think that's sometimes the best way to learn. And to me, it's called baptism by fire. Yeah. Sometimes you fuck up and you got to fight your way out. You dig that hole and you got to dig on right back out. You got to climb out. And so learning from that mistake is going to be a big, crucial part in this. And as long as you grow from it and you learn from it and you study and you get squared away, I think you'd be a solid officer, especially if your heart's in it. So. Yeah,
it's not about falling down. It's about getting back up. So
exactly.
All right. Well, Anthony, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? How did you end up in law enforcement? What was your journey like, and how long have you been on?
I was always kind of interested in it. I'm third generation, or before me, there's 3 generations in front of me that have been in the military. I wasn't able to go in the military, a little bit based off my weight, a little bit of some high school injuries, but I always still wanted to serve. Didn't know exactly how I was going to do that for a few years, was kind of bouncing around from jobs. I got married young, started having kids young, quit a decent job to take a horrible oil field job, where I learned there's more dope on an oil field rig than any raid I've ever been on.
Yeah. Yeah. Those roughnecks are no joke when it comes to dope and stuff.
Yeah. And we were doing casing, so that may even be worse. But went on a 3-day job casing. It's the metal pipe that goes inside, is what the drill pipe goes through.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like a new type of like drug. I was like, what the hell is that?
No, casing is what the job they were doing.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I was like, what?
Yeah. I've never heard of
In
casing.
my
Do you
area-
snort it?
In my area, it's when K2 first started getting big, and it was being just called legal. And like I said, I didn't have a criminal justice background at the time, so I had no
Vice.
idea what it
Yeah.
was. Spice, K2, whatever's being called.
It's wild.
Yeah, right.
Spent 3 days out on a job. I was the only person on the entire crew with a driver's license. So driving back, they decided to stop to Quick Stop, grab a couple cases, and on our way home, they were playing throw the beer bottle up every sign we passed. Got lucky, never got stopped. But when I got home that night, I was like, "This isn't for me. I've got too much to lose." They called me for the next job, and I'm like, "Man, I'm not going." At the same time, my best friend at the time was working at the same sheriff's office I'm at now as a jailer, and going through the reserve academy. He's like, "Hey, we need jailers. We've got a spot open. Come on." So I came on, kind of at that point, just kind of as a job. Went on my first ride along, week 2 or 3, and was hooked. Went to the Reserve Academy about a year after working for the jail. Spent another 6 years in the jail, both as a reserve and as a jailer. And then in 2018, got to go to got moved into the street and got to go to the full-time academy.
Nice.
And then graduated that in December of 18.
And now you're out on patrol. You know, you get your training wheels off. You're fully on your own, and all your hard work is paid off. Do you think your time in the jail helped you and prepared you?
Definitely.
Okay.
I think I've seen, especially on our end of the sheriff's office end, because we do the same work that the police departments do, but at the same time, it's different.
Sure.
You know, a lot of times we're out in county, we're out by ourselves. Generally, like the story I'm going to tell today, I'm working an overnight shift all by myself, about 1,200 square miles, running it by myself, and an on-call at the other end of the phone. And being in the jail teaches you how to talk to people, and if that fight's going to happen or you really want that fight, you can make it happen. But at the same time, if you're good at your job and you want to avoid it, you can talk your way out of it a lot of the time. Or the guy's just a complete shitbag and he wants to fight. But what I've seen, probably about 9 times out of 10, you can generally, if you've got a rapport with the inmates, you can talk your way out of a lot of situations.
Yeah, if it's going to go sideways, it's just going to go sideways. There's, I mean, some people just choose violence, and, cowabunga it is, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, once they have their mind made up, it's made up.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
That's I always tell my son and my daughter, I said, you got to understand that some people, like the Batman movie said, some people just want to watch the world burn. And when somebody has decided that violence is the answer, then just make sure you hit them hard, you hit them fast, and you end it early. So,
yep.
So it's really the only way to do it. Do you, so you spent a couple of years in the jails, and do you feel like that should be required for most officers, or do you feel like there's people that might be able to go do it without it? Like, how do your feelings? Because I know some people say you should definitely 100% have to do some time in the jail, and other people say, well, it depends on the person. It's like detectives. Should you be allowed to go straight to detectives, or do you have to work patrol?
Fuck no, dude.
I don't know, man. I know some people I wouldn't want to work patrol, but they make good detectives.
When it comes to, I can't talk about the PD guys as much. A lot of those guys, and we work close with our police department, and I've seen some of those guys, they come straight out in the field and they're okay. For the most part, in the 10 years I've been at the sheriff's office, we've hired very few guys that weren't either at another agency. I can only think of, I think 2 people that we've actually sent to the academy that didn't work in the jail, and neither of them were very good. And the biggest issue, again, small sheriff's office, we run light in the field and we run even lighter in the jail. So if things go sideways in the jail, they're calling deputies to help. And if that deputy's never been in the jail before and he's just used out to the street, he's got command presence, you're going to do you're going to jump when I say jump. And those inmates just laugh at it and they're ready to fight.
Right.
So I do think, I think when it comes to, especially on the deputy side, especially in a rural area like we're in, I think it really helps to get that jail experience and to learn how to talk your way out of a situation before immediately going to the tools on our belt. Because generally in the jail, it's a radio, and that's it.
Right.
I can agree with that. Yeah.
Makes sense. Well, we're glad you came on, and I'm looking forward to it. So the floor is yours, man. What is your story?
Okay. So, back in October of 2019, I've been out of the academy for a little under a year. Um, Technically, it was my Monday. I came out a little early, and we got some BS call. There's a prison inside my jurisdiction, and there was a drunk guy walking by the prison. So I rolled up with evening shift to go deal with him. We get him dealt with and go on from there. I go back into town, get fuel, get coffee. Not really filling the night. We're kind of not filling the night. So I'm kind of sitting at the office, catching up on a podcast, messing on my phone, not really filling the night. And I'm sitting there for maybe a couple minutes, and the scanner chimes up that there is PD lieutenants attempting to make a traffic stop. About 30 seconds.
Well, there's your first
later,
problem as a lieutenant trying to make a traffic stop.
Lieutenant's trying to.
Which again, we're small.
Sorry,
we only
resist.
run. Especially at this time, I think they were only running 3 a shift, so they had to work. And like I said, so it's probably not 30 seconds later, and they're fairly close onto their jurisdiction line. Comm Center, we're in a pursuit. We're going to be going out in the county. Get deputies en route. Okay, because they can do it, but again, there's one deputy. So I leave the office. I start flying the direction that they're heading. Where they're at, they're on a little service road that goes to the highway. So they got on the highway, and they're up to highway speeds. They're chasing a guy, and I sent you guys the pictures. It's a little gold, silver Dodge pickup, and the PD officer's in a Dodge Charger. I'm in a 2019 pickup. Little backstory there because it comes in. 2019 Ford pickup, brand new. I think it was issued to me in April or May, and this is October. So
okay,
it's still a brand new truck.
Yeah.
They go out. I'm heading that way. They crash through a fence, and there's some chatter about they're in that field. I'm not chasing them. Start to slow down a little bit, and then they're right back on. Hey, they're coming back at me. Back on the highway. They're back on the chase, and then they dip down a county road. The PD officer that's involved is basically telling his guys to stay in town and that he's going to maintain lead until county catches up. I eventually catch up with them on an east-west county road that was mostly cleachy and sand.
Okay. So you're going to get loose chasing people through it.
We're going to get loose chasing through it. And again, that's why, and again, hey, Comm Center, I need that SO unit. My Charger's, the Charger's not doing well with the conditions and speed. So I finally catch up past the Charger. Not about 30 seconds later, I've caught the pickup, and then I notice him starting to turn. So we're on an east-west road, and he's getting ready to turn south. And about that time, everything completely slows down, as we've talked about 100 times. And I'm watching him, and he's not turning; he's actually making a U-turn. And I'm watching him make this U-turn. I'm like, he's not going to make that. He's not going to make that. I start putting on my brakes, and next thing I know, he is in my front pillar.
Oh,
shit.
Yeah.
Hits me. Comes to find out later with an investigation, he hit me on purpose. I don't know if he realized he wasn't making the turn or not, but during his interview, he ran my truck on purpose. Come to find out later, I get a decent concussion out of it, but I don't know. So I'm taking my seatbelt off. I'm picking up the radio, let dispatch know we crashed out for whatever reason, rookie mistake, whatever it was. I'm thinking the situation's over. Right. So I'm bent down. I'm on the radio. Comm Center. We've crashed out at this location. Pop, 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 pop. And the first thing that goes through my mind is, and these are just little sharp pops. Why is somebody popping fireworks out here?
No, fireworks.
What feels like an eternity later, I realize, oh shit, I'm getting shot at. Exit the vehicle. Comm Center, shots fired. And then something that I can only describe as divine intervention. When I get out and I clear that vehicle to take cover, that his windshield is black. I can't see a single thing through it. I take cover and I go to re-engage, and I can see him, and he's running from me. And the only thing that I see clearly is the palm of his hands back at me, like showing me I don't have anything in my hands. I'm drawn down on him, getting ready, and it's like, hold on, bare hands. I go to give chase, and then I think, for whatever reason, clicks, hey, there may be other people in the vehicle, so I don't continue to chase him. Come back, turns out that there's two 18-year-old males and two minor females. I think they were 14 and 16, and a dog.
Man, what'd the dog do? Why are you taking your dog on your hood shit?
Exactly. So again, like I said, thankfully, that's why I said divine intervention, that window was black, that glass was black like that, because if I just would have came out and returned fire, chances are I would have been pumping runs into the 14-year-old girl sitting in the back passenger seat, right behind the driver's seat.
Which is why they tell you get to know what you're shooting at.
Exactly. And like I said, that kicked in. And again, the guy running from me, showing me his hands, I don't shoot at him there because, again, he's unarmed. That comes up more and more later in the story.
Was he unarmed? Did he just ditch the gun, or did he still have the gun on his person?
He ditched the gun. Okay. Now, I didn't know if he had another gun or not. It turns out what he shot at me with was a 9mm carbine. So, little 9mm rifle. Ballistic, and some of the photos I show you, ballistics and his not knowing of them saved my life, because there was one round right here, right in front of my forehead. He shot 9mm through his windshield into my windshield.
Wow.
So if he would have gone for the passenger window or anything else, and he only had four. Apparently, it turned out, we find out much later in the investigation, he was shooting at that PD officer the whole time. He was just reaching back and shooting at him, and they never saw it. So luckily, all he had was the 4 rounds left in his magazine when he shot at me.
Wow. So the lieutenant had no idea he was taking rounds.
That's the way I understood the story, the way that I've understood his reports. So we get there. It's just me and the PD lieutenant. We go ahead, felony, pull everybody else out of the vehicle. They put them in handcuffs. Dispatchers want to know who was shooting, me or them. Whatever. We get an iris or a page out for, we need all of our guys out. That basically reads, SO and PD units shot at, PD units are okay. So we actually have a few of our guys not respond to the alert because they read that as everything was okay.
Oh, no.
Yeah, there was some miscommunication.
See, I wouldn't have read it that way. It says PD units okay. I would have read that as the sheriff's not.
Right. Keep rolling. Yeah, shots fired.
That was so we had a couple day shift guys that didn't come out, which actually turns out later on in the story to be better because they didn't know the whole story when things changed later on.
On day shift.
But I had more issues at that point in time, to be honest.
Right.
But so we get there, we get these 4 people detained, pull them out for handcuffs, whatever. I think we leave the dog in the truck. So like I said, there's only 3 PD units out. He ordered his guys to stay in town. As soon as first backing SO unit showed up, he shagged ass back to town. Whatever. So we're there for a while.
Was he ordered to head back into town?
Not that I know. I can't confirm or deny that. I honestly don't know. He was the one running shifts, but I don't know.
He's just like, oh, sheriff's department's got it. We're done. Later.
That's kind of the way we took it.
Do you guys have a bad rapport?
Hit and miss. Like, not really bad. There are issues higher up. The supervisors don't necessarily always get along, but for the most part, the deputies and the officers can get along just fine.
And this was a lieutenant, so
yeah. So our guys get there.
Maybe he knew he was going to get in trouble for trying to do initiating a traffic stop.
Who knows? So our guys get there, and they're all tacked out in their greens and their tack gear and their rifles, and they're going to go hunt this guy. And I want to go. Of course I want to go.
Right.
You can't go. Fine. So I put crime scene tape up around the perimeter, go sit in the undersheriff's truck for a while, kind of hang out, wait for the state investigative agency to show up and the highway patrol to show up, because there's two different incidents. We have a traffic collision that has to be investigated, and we have, which kind of came back to what brought up my question, we had what may or may not have been a officer involved shooting that had happened.
Right.
So the state agency comes in to investigate the shooting. The highway patrol investigates the accident.
See, for us, that's not an accident. That's an intentional act. It's assault with a deadly weapon. You know,
AEW and a PO.
Yep. I mean, they might have called the highway patrol out initially to make a determination, but once if you can determine that it's an intentional act, it's assault on a peace officer.
And it was initially charged that way. It was written up that way, but it was also handled by the highway patrol. So I'm out there for quite a while. The state investigators get there, and the one that took primary on this case I know pretty well. So I give them my, pertinent information statement. We were in a pursuit. They crashed into me. They fired rounds into my vehicle. I didn't give chase because of the other people. No, I did not return fire. Okay. Probably 15, 20 minutes after giving them my initial statement, I am cleared to leave the scene. So the sheriff gives me a ride back into town. So let's clear this up, because I'm not wanting to talk bad about my agency. I love my agency. I love my sheriff. We are a 10-person agency, and everybody other than me are supposedly chasing the guy that just shot at me.
Right.
So I'm taken to the office, giving keys to another truck, and said, "Hey, go get fuel in it and go 10-8 for calls. Hang out at the office.
Wow.
Try to get your report done. But if anything comes up, you're the only one available." So
I mean, there is nobody else at that point.
It's yours.
Right.
Like, okay, so go get fuel, go get more coffee, go back to the office. Have no idea what time it is. About 8 a.m, the captain never made it out he read it the same way. Everybody was okay, so he didn't come out. And one day shift deputy read it that way, and they didn't come out. And probably about 1.5 miles from where my incident occurred, SO units, be advised, we have burglary in progress at this location, blah, 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 something about the subjects passed out on the floor. And captain looks at me, "Are you going?" "Yeah, I'll go." I don't quite think he realized the proximity of my incident to where we were going.
Because my instinct tells me that's him.
Probably the guy. Yeah.
And it immediately clicked with me. So I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I'm going."
Yeah, I'll go.
I'll go.
Back
I'm clothing up. I'm pulling my rifle out of the rack, racking my rifle. We get there. We go in, guns drawn. By this point in time, everybody else has kind of figured it out. But the people in the shop have no idea what we're doing. So they've got bug-eyed us coming in like this, like, "What's going on?" The dude's just sleeping there. Yeah, no, show me your fucking hands, da-da-da-da. He gets put in handcuffs. Put him in handcuffs, rip him up, take him to the truck, throw him in the truck. Find his wallet for the first time and ID him. He's 17.
Wow. 17-year-old, high-speed chase, shoots at police, takes off running, passes out on a floor. Was he high?
Yeah. Extremely intoxicated on methamphetamines and alcohol. I don't know when the last time when he crashed, but yeah, he had actually so from where we were, he took off north, because the crash happened right at an intersection. He took off north, and he ended up about 1 mile west and a half mile south of the original location. So we're guessing he probably went to the nearest county road and went around, and then just stayed in the woods and avoided anybody. So we got a little bit of victory there. I actually ended up getting to be the guy to arrest and transport the guy that shot at me.
That always feels good.
It feels good. We realize, oh, he's 17. I can't take him into jail. So I walk him in, take him to the sheriff's office, walk him into our dispatch area. Again, it's a little 8, 9 o'clock. So our admin people are coming in. Our jailer dispatchers that aren't really dispatchers. We deal through the comm center now. We don't, our girls that work up front where dispatch used to be are no longer dispatchers, but that's just what they're called. So I take him into our little interview room, attorney room, sit him down, slam the door, yell at the girls if he tries to leave, shoot him, and try to walk off. I'm agitated. Things were said that probably shouldn't have been said.
I mean,
it's been a long night. So our administrative assistant, who I've known for years, looks at me and she's like, "What is your deal?" It's like, "That's the asshole that just tried to kill me." And She looks at me and she's like, "What are you talking? What?" It's like, "I was in a crash last night and shot at. He did it." Oh, yeah, okay. He don't move. Go in. Finally, we talk about it a little bit. And hey, did you ever get cleared by medical? No, I never saw medical. I'm fine. You need to go to urgent care, or you need to go to the ER. I'm like, well, hey, would you rather me go to urgent care than the ER? It's less expensive. Yeah, go to urgent care. So I go to urgent care, and they're like, we don't see traffic collision patients.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Great.
So like, okay, still, hey, I called my doctor. I can get in today. Can I just go see her instead of going to the ER? Yeah, that's fine. Okay, cool. I go see my doctor that day. Adrenaline's still pumping. It's like, hey, I'm a little sore, but I'm okay. A little bit of a headache, no big deal. Okay, yeah, you're good. You're clear. You're clear to go back to work tonight.
How long have you been on shift at this point?
I had gone. I finally went home about 9 a.m. So only 10 hours.
Oh, okay.
Went home, slept for a couple hours.
You guys don't work 12s.
No, we only work 8s.
Okay.
Well, yeah, we still only work 8s. We about went 12s and something happened, but we're on 8s. Yeah, so it's about 9 o'clock in the morning. So we're just right around 10 hours. Go home. Investigative agency sent me home. I thought she was going to want to talk to me. She's like, "No, go away. I will talk to you. I will call you when I'm ready to talk to you."
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Go home, take a couple-hour nap, and then I have a doctor's appointment. Go see the doctor. Hey, you're good. You're good to go back on shift tonight. Okay. Let the sheriff know. Okay, yeah, cool. We'll see it. Go ahead and work your shift tonight. It's my other solo shift. The way our week worked, there was 2 of us on overnights, so we both worked 2 nights by ourselves and 3 nights with each other. And this was going to be my second night by myself. Go ahead and come in and work. Everything's good to go. And me, not thinking anything of it, was like, okay, I'm good. Couple weeks later, I was still having headaches, and my sciatic nerve was bothering me really bad. So I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go see the doctor again. But yeah, go see the doctor again. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's not right. Go ahead and keep working, but we're going to send you in for MRI, CAT scan, something like that, some fancy scan thing. Go do that. Go get that scanned, and turns out that I had not ruptured. Anyway, I had messed up my bottom disc.
Yeah.
Not completely destroyed it, but it was definitely injured, and the way that Workman's Comp had to pay on it is they could tell by the type of injury, because I had other spots in different parts of my back that was just from age and my weight, but they could tell at that lower part of my back where there was a traumatic event that caused it. So you need to go on light duty or off duty. Okay. Tell the sheriff that. Okay, well, go ahead and work the next 2 shifts, because again,
what?
we're in that part of the rotation where you're by yourself. So just if anything calls out, if anything big comes out, or anything that you think you're going to have to go hands on or do anything, call somebody.
Right.
That's not how this works. But it's like, sure, I'm going to go fight this. I'm going to call somebody, but I'm going to go fight this guy in the process because I don't hurt that bad. Nothing happens. I spend the next 2 nights on shift, or basically sitting taking calls from the office, not doing anything. Could it have gone another way? It could have. Got lucky, it didn't. Mess around with that for 6 or 8 weeks. Basically going back and forth to the doctor, specialist, and basically says like, hey, so we've done this. They did steroid injections. First time I knowingly took fentanyl, and it scared the hell out of me. We're getting ready. They're getting ready to do a steroid injection. They're going to go from high up into my back with this long ass needle all the way to the bottom of my back. So like, hey, we're giving you fentanyl and something else. You're not going to feel a thing. Hold on, you're giving me what?
Yeah, right.
No, it's safe. It's safe. You're okay. It's like, this is the stuff they tell us. We just barely inhale it. It's going to kill us. No. This is controlled. You're fine. You say so. Get the steroid injection. Live with it for several weeks. Again, no real relief. Go talk to the doctor, who was a specialist and a surgeon. And he goes, well, we could do surgery. I don't think it's going to do any good at your age and things like that. There's more risk for the surgery than not getting the surgery. You're probably eventually going to do the surgery when you're older, but right now I suggest go full duty. Go back to full duty for 4 weeks. If you hurt yourself or something if it gets worse, stop, call me, but let's try it for 4 weeks.
Right.
Go through, everything goes okay. And again, we had that same conversation. Eventually, this is going to be a big problem. You're going to have surgery, but you're also risking your career by having the surgery. Okay, yeah. We're good. Other than Workman's Comp wants you to sign off saying that you're good now.
No.
Now, I wasn't sure because I contacted an attorney and everything else with that, and was basically told if you have they cannot come back on a pre-existing condition if you're involved in another wreck, if you fight somebody and hurt your back, if something like that happens, they have to still take care of you because it's a new injury to that one.
Right.
So we did that. That was all good. We did good. We did good. We were doing good. We went back to work, and I thought everything was okay. It was kind of that your question earlier asked about college, because I'd actually decided to go back to school kind of in this process. Before this process, and I was finishing up my criminal justice degree online, and was doing a writing assignment about officer-involved shootings. And I'm typing it up, and I'm bringing in personal parts of my story into the situation, into my paper, and I can feel myself getting a little upset and whatnot. It was my day off. I was working on that paper. I didn't get some house chores done. My wife came home. She started getting on my ass about not getting stuff done. It's perfectly in her right. All I did was sit on my ass all day at the house, not doing anything. But I'm writing this paper, and I'm already getting emotional, and we go back and forth. I got my headphones on. I'm trying to bleed her. I'm trying to tone her out so I can get this paper done. She comes up and she shuts my laptop screen on me. Loses my work. And I end up being recovered. So I take my headphones off and I spike them on the floor, break them. And my, at that time, 9-year-old son was in the room and saw the whole thing. I didn't even realize he was in the room. He brings me my headphones after I throw them in the trash. He brings me my headphones in tears, trying to fix them, trying to give them back to me, wanting to know why mom was being so mean to me that I got upset. And I just broke down. I go into the office the next day, talk to the undersheriff. I'm like, hey, I'm having some issues. I'm a little more snippy than I should be. This is what happened last night. It's very clear now. I think I need some help. I think I'm having some issues. Another thing in the background that a lot of times it upset me, but a lot of times I kind of blew it off. I had several people ask why I didn't shoot that kid. Why didn't you shoot him? You had every right to shoot him. He shot at you. He did all this. You should have shot at him. You should have done it. So I'm not going to lie. The question was in my head. Why didn't I do it? Knowing when you put logic to it, he was unarmed. He was running. He was 17. I didn't know he was 17 at the time, but he was unarmed. He was unarmed running from me. There was no reason to use lethal force on him at that time. And I had people keep telling, people kept bringing that up. So we start going to counseling. The counseling helped quite a bit initially. It turned out the counselor I was seeing then ended up being really close to the case. He was involved with other parties of it, and what just turned out not being great. We did some classes. And we have what's called the Warrior Project in my area. And they are a group of people that do, a lot of them are former law enforcement, mental health specialists, things like that. They do a lot of the debriefs and stuff like that. And they do counseling. They have their own counselors and stuff like that. And we're in this class, and my undersheriff sees it, and they actually contact them for me saying, hey, this is what happened to one of our guys. And they actually got me involved with the counsel I see now, who is a specialist in law enforcement trauma and EMDR. So after several sessions of EMDR, things are pretty well, mostly normal, and some experimentation with some prescription drugs, mental health meds. For the most part, everything's pretty good. I did have a partner for a while that kept telling me the story about some guy that someone broke into his house and he pointed the AR at him. And when he asked him why he didn't shoot him, he just said he couldn't. He's like, some people just can't do it. Other than that bothering me, for the most part, we're pretty well back to normal.
Right. So, so you had some post-traumatic stress from this that bled into your personal life, which caused you and your wife to argue, and that kind of got brought back up with, just to recap everything, you got brought back up with your college essay, and then you ended up seeking some treatment through a project that helps officers who are involved in post-traumatic stress incidents and things like that cause post-traumatic stress. So you had a little bit of post-traumatic stress, and you ended up getting some help for it, and and people kept bothering you like, oh, why didn't you shoot the kid? Well, we are all involved in law enforcement, that we come in shoot and don't shoot scenarios. And sometimes we don't shoot people that we can shoot them. I know Tom's been involved in them. I've been involved in them, where I could have dumped some people that I did it. And one split second changed everything. Could I have still pulled the trigger and been completely justified and fine? Absolutely. But that split second and me able to recognize that caused me not to shoot. Same thing for you. You saw both of his hands. You didn't know if he still had one in his waistband. Could you have shot that 17-year-old in the back that you didn't know it was 17? Absolutely. It's called violent escape from a violent fleeing felon. He's likely to commit the same crime against another officer or another person because he just did so. He just rammed your car. He shot at you. He's
clearly demonstrated a willingness to commit violence.
Exactly. So could you? Yeah, but you didn't. And does it mean
you didn't pass the test for you?
No.
Now, I'll say this: I have been on both sides of it. There's like 17 sides of it I've been on. I guess.
Yeah, right.
Really look at it. I have been in a situation where I have spoken to an officer who did something that I felt was patently unsafe and endangered the lives of the other officers on scene, on the call at the time. Now, I wasn't there, but I did bring it up in a debrief where I said, you created, by not acting, by not shooting, by not doing something, you created a situation that was more dangerous. But this was a situation of a guy with a rifle in his hands, turning around and being allowed to walk back into the house where his wife was at while they were having a domestic. And there's learning to know the difference, years of experience, years of training, life experience, time on the job, all of those things go into those factors. You're what? You said you came on patrol in 2018? And so
Yes,
you've had, at this point, you've had just about a year, a little under on the job?
little under a year as working the street. Yes, sir.
Right. And so based on your training and experience, we all go back to based on that officer's training and experience and what they observed at the time. So you have to make allowances and take that into account. And I did. I took into account in one of my debriefs where I did say, yeah, you probably should not have let that happen. I took into account this guy's amount of training and experience. In your situation, the circumstances are very different. You don't see a gun, right? You have just the fact that you have other suspects in the car and you don't have a clean shot and you don't see a gun. You're not sure was it somebody in the car that shot at you? Was it the driver that shot at you? Like, there's so many different factors that play into it that, yes, it becomes very, very hard to know why people make the decision they made if you weren't there. And that's, I think, what some of the other officers maybe, didn't understand. Maybe they've never even been in that situation and they're just talking out their ass and going, I would have shot him. Well, how do you know? You weren't there.
Well, I think a lot of it was that. And I will say again, anytime I brought up that issue with my captain, undersheriff, sheriff, they were all, you did the right thing. You knew you were
they
there.
Were grateful that you didn't shoot an unarmed 17-year-old in the back.
That would have been
exactly
bad.
But it was like, hey, you were the ones there. You know what was going on. You knew what the right decision was.
Yeah.
Turns out during his interviews with the state investigations agency, and like I said, we did arrest him. When I saw him showing me his hands, he was extremely hot and was taking a jacket off.
Right.
And was throwing it. I never saw the jacket. I just saw the hands. But apparently that's what that motion was him throwing the jacket off and him flashing his hands at me.
But it had the net effect of letting you see that his hands were empty, and that's what influenced your decision.
Exactly. So, like I said.
Well, let me ask you this. If you went back to that situation, right, knowing what you know now, would you have shot him?
No, because especially now, because after we went and arrested him, we found out there wasn't another weapon. Because that was always the what if. Was there another weapon? Well, we answered that question. So
you can kick yourself in the ass.
Definitely.
Yeah, you can kick yourself in the ass 6 ways to Sunday if, in hindsight, you're like, man, I should have done X, Y, and Z. But if your initial judgment of the situation was correct, then don't let anybody second guess you.
And I'm going to tag up on that real quick. Just so that you know that you're not crazy and you can tell all the rest of the people at your agency if they continue to pester you on it, you kiss my ass. If that was me and I was in your position and I saw him running and I saw the backs of his hands, I wouldn't have shot him. Yep. I have 10 years of experience on the job. I wouldn't have shot him. I've seen officers get involved in a shooting where a suspect shoots at them, then takes off running and then cracks around behind their back and the officers dump them. And they shoot him in the back, and they get so much heartache for shooting someone in the back, even though they were in the right. Could you set up a perimeter? Could you have done it this way? Sure, but he was shooting at me, so I shot him. And I think that's 100% okay. But at the same time, I wouldn't have shot him if I was in your position. So I think you did the right thing.
Yeah. Like I said,
I was just going to say, shooting somebody in the back is a lot like getting in a traffic collision when you're making a left turn. It's really hard to justify yourself as being in the right. And I'll tell you something similar to Chuck. We had a guy and he was in a truck on the back of a tow truck. He was in his pickup truck. He had already pointed a rifle at the lieutenant. Again, lieutenant's trying to make traffic stops. He'd already pointed a rifle at the lieutenant. And when I showed up, the lieutenant had his gun on him and I put my gun on him. The lieutenant says, he's got a rifle. If he brings it up again, shoot him. The guy's hands kept coming up above the windowsill and then dropping down and coming up and dropping down. And every time they came up, you could see his fingertips first. And by the time he got to the palms of his hands, you could see he didn't have the rifle. He didn't have a firearm. He didn't have a weapon. Could we, anytime we saw his hands coming up, have shot him saying we thought he was bringing up a gun? Yeah. But did I wait the extra half a second to make sure that he wasn't bringing up a gun? I did. And that was my decision. That was the lieutenant's decision. Maybe other people would make a different decision, but that's not up to them because they weren't there.
I agree. And like I said, I since then I've come to terms with it again with some counts and stuff that I'm good with it. Anyone can say about whatever they want now. Nobody at my agency currently gives me any issues, and most of the issues weren't with my guys; they were with surrounding agencies. Just to clarify that, it wasn't so. I had one partner that kept telling me that one story, but other than that, my guys had my back. But they just kept letting it slip. Well, hey, so and so said this, so and so said that. Man, I don't need. They can say whatever they want. I don't need to hear it. It doesn't help me.
Yeah, that's not helpful.
No.
So, I would love to tell you guys that this story has a happy ending, but it doesn't. So, with our wonderful criminal justice system, like I said, he was a juvenile.
Probation.
So he got.
I'm guessing probation.
No. He got to. No.
Not even probation?
He got to turn 18 in a state facility. No. He got to turn 18 in a state facility. All charges were dismissed, and we had to give him back his guns.
What?
Even after a felony? Did he get convicted of a felony? Or
he didn't get convicted of anything. They dropped everything.
100% dropped it.
Once he turned 18, they dismissed all cases.
Whoa. That's wild.
So it is very possible for this to happen again because, like you said, once he turned 18, they did a couple things. He was doing all of his things with the Office of Juvenile Affairs. He was making all his benchmarks. So
who knows? You know what? Maybe the kid will turn out okay.
Very possible.
But that's a big roll of the dice.
It is. I know he's still local. I haven't had another run-in with him. I know other officers have stopped him on traffic stops, and there's not been any issues. I know that he's not been back in jail since he has turned 18. So, but the sad thing is the two 18-year-olds that were in the car with him that were just initially charged with accessory ended up being punished a lot more than they did because they ended up spending about a year in county.
By the way, that was because apparently a juvenile popped his head in to see what was going on the podcast. So just so people listening are like, "What's that dude saying?" It was kind of cute. You know, we've had all kinds of things interrupt this podcast. So your son is perfectly acceptable.
They've done really good. They did really good because they got off the bus at the same time I got home. So they've done really good up to this point.
Like, Dad, what's going on? What are you doing?
Exactly. Which I can't lie. It may or may not be the best thing. My 11-year-old, who's dead set on doing this job, has a tendency to listen to the podcast with me from time to time.
Well, we apologize for some of the things we may have said.
He's well aware. He's also well aware that we don't discuss those things with Mom.
Yeah, no, we don't tell Mom we listen to the show. We don't tell Mom. We don't talk about the things we hear.
Exactly. But like I said, he's been basically since I became full-time, if not before, he has been dead set. He's going law enforcement. He's only 11, so he has time to change. He has plenty of time to change his mind.
You got 7 years to change his mind.
It is the world we're in. It's not the same world. Definitely not the same world that I got into 10 years ago. And you kind of have that weird moment where you're kind of proud that he wants to follow in your footsteps at the same time. Like, no. Learn from my mistakes. Go be a lawyer.
Yeah. My dad said the same thing. He says, I couldn't be prouder, but I also think that you were built for so much better.
Right?
Go do something else and actually make money and take care of your family.
Yeah, exactly. So well, you know, but the heart wants what the heart wants. And if your kid has a heart for service and he saves lives one day, then you can't deny him that anymore. Then they could deny you that. So.
Right.
Exactly.
Whenever we have kids or young men and women emailing us saying they're getting into firefighting or police work or they're going into the military because they listen to the show, I always think to myself, where did we go wrong?
After all these stories and people's issues, you still want to do it.
And at the same time, I couldn't be prouder of them. You know, like,
exactly.
Like I'm like, it's, you know, it's like when you see your friend get engaged to that really hot, crazy chick and you're like, oh, she's really hot, but man, she's crazy. I hope it works out. Cross your fingers.
It's not going to work out, but okay. Exactly.
So I'm here for you when it goes to shit. That's all we can do is be here for them when it goes to shit. So, well, Chuck, did you have anything as we're wrapping up here? I know, you said that Anthony has a dedication,
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't have anything. I have something for when he's done, just our closeout, and that's about it.
Well, then, Anthony, we like to, as you know, let our guests dedicate the episode. They have first choice to dedicate their episode to somebody if they'd like to. So please tell us, who would you like to dedicate your episode to?
I want to dedicate my episode to Deputy David James Wade. Deputy Wade was in my Reserve Academy back in 2013 and was able to make the jump before I was to the full-time academy. He was a deputy with the Logan County Sheriff's Office. Deputy Wade, on April 18th, 2017, Deputy Wade was serving an eviction notice to some people that were actually already moving out of the house. They knew it was coming. They had another individual that was at that house that saw the cops show up, freaked out, and shot Deputy Wade several times. Deputy Wade was able to return fire, but did succumb to his injuries.
Well, Deputy Wade, rest easy, brother. We got it from here. And it's always tough when it's somebody somebody you went to class with, somebody, I mean, I've been relatively fortunate in the list of officers or brethren that I've lost that I've known personally or worked with. It has been short, but even one or two names is enough to rip your guts out. So absolutely, we feel all of that. So thank you for dedicating your episode, and thank you for coming on. It's important to talk about these things. It's important to talk about you're one of the few that we talk to that says, I recognized it right away. I knew what it was. I went and asked for help. My agency was cool with it. They, and everything worked out. That's the ideal. That's really what you want, is to just nip it in the bud and not let it grow and fester.
With that being said, it wasn't immediate. It was, like I said, that was October, and I think that was February. I didn't let it fester long enough to become a major issue, but it did take me a few months to realize it.
And that's the thing. It's post-trauma, right? So it inevitably is going to happen after. But you waited
pretty quick,
weeks and months. Chuck and I are used to people that have waited years to deal with it, and it's like it's like anything. The longer it takes root, the stronger that root system is.
Yeah, I still really haven't dealt with my shit.
You're doing it. You're doing it right now, brother. You're dealing with it right here.
Yeah. But like actual,
I know what you mean.
Psychologist, you know what I mean? But,
I know what you mean.
But Anthony, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for sharing your story, and I'm sorry for your loss. And that's always tough, losing a brother. But as we're closing out, I want to thank all the listeners today. If you like today's podcast, please go follow us on our Instagram at war_stories_official and our Facebook at War Stories Podcast. If you already follow us, share our posts and our info. You can also go to the link in our bio on Instagram and Facebook to reach all of our socials, our media, and our website. Our podcast is on all major podcast streaming platforms, as well as on our YouTube. If you want to support us, please go to our website at www.warstoriesofficial.com. Grab some gear. We still have some Whoopie hoodies, some shirts, and patches and stickers left. We will also be doing some spring and summer gear as well. If you want to be featured on a show and think you have a story or want to share your story, please go to booking.warstories@gmail.com and send me your info and your story, and I can get you booked. That also includes if you don't want to come on, you just want us to read a story, you can go there as well. We're looking for law enforcement, corrections, dispatchers, fire, medics, and veterans. If you have a friend who you think would be a great fit, let them know about us and give them our booking email. Again, thank you for the support. Stay safe.
And you can always become a patron through Podbean. That's really helpful when people, it's the cost of a cup of coffee every month. It's $3 to be a patron and just to help support the episodes and the podcast and the merch, and helps us keep the lights on. Chuck and I, like I said, between this and the locker room, we dedicate a large percentage of our time to just doing this for you guys. So, helping us and supporting us in what we're doing and what our mission is really helpful, whether that's through buying merch or whether that's just wanting to become a patron. And if you add up, $3 a month. It's $36 a year. And, hell, that's basically a trip for two to the movies. It's actually cheaper than a trip for two to the movies. And
Cheaper.
you're getting
Biden's America.
Yeah, no shit. Anyway, all right. Well, thank you guys for listening. Thank you, Anthony, for coming on. We appreciate your story, man. We're glad you recognized that you need to get your shit straight and you got it done, especially early, because the earlier you deal with it, the less that it's going to hurt you. So until our next episode, come home with your shield or on it.